What's up, people? Welcome to Throwdown Your Questions, episode 228. I'm your host, Tony Polanco, and I'm joined by Emilio Lopez.
X gonna give it to you, what?
Chris Seeley.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
Brian Manjoma.
What up, people?
And Brett Murdoch.
Hold up, I'm about to sneeze. I didn't actually mean to stop the show.
Oh, I'm waiting for the sneeze. I want to hear the sneeze.
Yeah.
God, you put the pressure. Put the pressure on me and you ruined it. It's back in my face now.
Oh, no. Brett's like, I got to blow my nose.
I was trying really hard to not sneeze on the show, so I was like, I was going to pull the headphones away, and I'm like, they're going to say something to me. They're going to, fuck, it's gone.
Man, that would have been amazing if that was your intro. And Brett Murdoch, I wanted to hear it, man. That would have been awesome, you know?
Yep.
All right, Adam will be here later. He's watching some wrestling thing.
WrestleMania!
You know, you already knew Adam, man. He's crazy, you know? Yo. Not really much in the way of vamping, but I will throw this. I want to give a shout out to Jeffrey Wilson and Gabe Zamora. We went to the New York City Craft Beer Festival yesterday. It was fun. I drank a lot of beer. It's kind of funny. Yeah.
Drink a lot of beers.
Yeah, the way it works is, you go in there, you get a wristband, and they give you this cup. It's pretty much a shot glass, and you go around to all the different vendors, and you take some beer, Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was fun. Oh, but I did get there late because of this thing. I don't even know what the hell the name of it is. This thing at Hudson Yards now. So I got off the train station on 34th, pretty much in front of the Javits Center. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go south because there's a place on 28th Street. And there's this huge fucking, I don't even know what to call it. It's a tourist attraction, basically.
That thing that looks like something from Mass Effect. We always pass it when you go to Comic-Con.
Yeah. But it's not just that thing, basically, because I'm like, okay, let me go south. And I got on this, a bunch of people going in this direction. So I'm like, okay, that's interesting. So we keep going down. And I pass by an elevator. I'm like, I'm pretty sure there'll be another one soon. I think that's the end of the street over there. Nope. It was basically where the old train tracks used to be. There's a whole walkway they built there. This entire walkway.
That is the what do they call that, Chris? The park that's on the old
that elevated park.
Yeah, it was the elevated park. So I had to go. Remember, I had to go to 20th Street. I had to go all the way to 23rd. I was like, get me off this fucking ride, because it was just tourists everywhere. I'm trying to do my business and shit. So, but it was cool. They have a mall there now. They have that big fucking thing. I don't know that honeycomb type of thing going on.
It looks like what that remember the bad guys in Mass Effect, like their hive.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
That it looks like whatever the collectors. It looks like a collector's hive or something.
Yeah, and then after the show, we do the typical New York thing. We're making fun of the tourists. Like, who the fuck would want to come down here and waste their time with this shit?
Hey, listen, it's not for you, man.
It isn't.
It's not. That stuff ain't for you. That's for the tourists. To get everybody else to get in. I mean, come on. How many of us who lived in New York have ever gone to pretty much every single tourist attraction?
No.
I've never been to the Statue of Liberty.
I have during a school field trip.
Never been. I've never been to Ellis Island. I've never been to what is it? I've only been under the Twin Towers when it was still up.
Yeah.
But when was the last time you took 4 days off in your own city?
Yeah, that's the point. Mm-hmm. We don't have time for that shit,
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. It's not that, because I've seen this. I've seen people talk about this, and I've heard people talk about it. It's not that you don't want to go, or it's not like you're like, oh, I've lived here forever and I've never done that. It's that whenever you're like, I have 5 days off, I'm gonna go somewhere. I'm gonna do something. And everyone's like, you know what? I should look around my hometown and really get it's not a bad idea. It's just nobody ever does it. It's such a weird thing, even hearing out loud.
Yeah. And that goes for
a staycation. That means you're not leaving your fucking living room. There's nothing between staying in your living room for a week and going to Florida for a week. There's no in between.
Yeah, no, you're right about it. And I think that goes for, wherever you live is like that. If there's a tourist spot and you live there, you probably haven't been there,
It's,
think about it like this. That's in New York. Who's going on a Saturday afternoon? Hey, let's go to Hudson Yards today. No one's going to say that shit, Who the fuck wants to go into that area,
I've only walked on the what's that thing? You know, that walkway. And I've been to the top of the Empire State Building. Well, that's because me and Chris had a friend that, you know, some friends that came into town. And we took them up there.
That's the only time you go to those places.
That's the only time we ever got to any of those places. Yeah.
You know, I remember when Brent and Rachel came here, I took them to Times Square because just to show them around. I try to avoid Times Square whenever I can. Yeah. You know, fuck
you can
that
tell,
place.
You can tell who the real New Yorkers are in Times Square because they're all the people that are walking fast and in the street.
Yes.
Oh no, I mean that was kind of us too. Like,
yeah.
I'll be honest, did not see the appeal.
Yeah, no, it's fucking horrible. It's fucking terrible.
It's Disneyland, you know.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, everyone's just like, oh my god, Times Square, it's the heart of New York. It's like the center of the biggest city. And you get there and you're like, I mean, there's a lot of billboards and there's a lot of shit going on. And it's, I don't know, it's simultaneously bigger and smaller in the worst ways, I guess. Like, first opinion of a Midwesterner going to New York City.
New York City.
It's bigger and smaller than you think it's going to be. Movie cameras do this trick where they kind of like widen out the field of vision. That's why have you ever noticed like in movies why like even a small apartment seems big? You're like, how the fuck do they fit this many things in this many shots in this tiny ass apartment that I know this room isn't like 20 feet by 20 feet. I know this. They still get, you know, plenty of wide shots and manage to fit everything in. It has something to do with the camera lens that they use, the depth of field that they use. And that same thing, whenever you see that shot of like Times Square, it is not that big. It is tall. It is not as open and deep as you think that shit is.
No, it is not. No, it is not.
It's a street corner. It's a three-way street corner.
Pretty much. Well, not anymore. They closed up a bunch of streets over there.
Yeah, but yeah, it's small. It's like if you got rid of all the people and the traffic, you know you could cross that whole thing in like 10 seconds. You know.
Yeah, well, it's not that much bigger than a normal 4-lane intersection is.
Yeah, no. See, like
you think it's gonna be this huge thing, like it's like almost like a big plaza with like 6 lanes on each side. Like, no, man, it's just
4.
It's 4.
Yeah, this is why now, you know, when friends come out from the city, we don't take them through that shit. Me and Jeffrey, we take them to Barcade. You know, fuck that. Let's drink. It's fun.
But Barcade's here.
Yeah, Barcades are. Yeah, apparently Barcades are not a thing everywhere, which I just learned.
Wait, really?
Yeah,
we have like 4 of them here. I'm telling you, I'm gonna convince you we're a real city one of these days, Tony.
You mean those flyover? By the way, though, I always thought the whole term flyover state was like really derogatory until I started flying. I'm like, fuck, now I know why they call them flyover states. I never land in the middle of those things. Like, hey, every time I travel, I literally go to the other end of the continent and then come right back to the other end of the continent. So I'm like, oh, that's why they call them that.
I wouldn't qualify Kansas City as a destination spot, but the part that you would, the listener, the part that Tony and I disagree with, and I'm not sure if he'll actually agree with this, is Tony doesn't seem to view Kansas City as an actual city. Like, he is growing up in New York. He has this weird version of like, there's 2 mega metropolises. It's almost like the Marvel universe. There's 2 mega metropolises and then a bunch of farms in between.
Pretty much,
it's
Kansas to me is from the first Superman movie. That's Kansas to me. There's fucking farms everywhere, as far as the eye could see. That's the entire Midwest basically, and then the desert, and then the desert starts. You know, like when you get to the west, that's pretty much it. So
essentially, it's like Judge Dredd, where like, you know, New York, you know, Boston and Philly. Miami are all the mega cities.
Yeah, the way you know my mind sees it is like there's a bunch of cities on each ends of the coast and then a bunch of wasteland in the middle.
Okay, so I'm curious.
Yeah.
What in your mind, what does the place that Manny moved to look like?
That's a good question. I kind of imagine it like Queens, to be honest.
That's because I pretty much told you what it was.
I think that's what it is. Yeah.
So you think Manny lives in a city?
Well, he lives near Philadelphia, so that's a city, you know. Remember, Manny's still in the East Coast, so you know.
I still. The thing is, I mean, just to make things easier, I don't say the actual town that I live in because nobody knows what that fucking town is. But everybody knows what Philly is, so I just say Philly because it's much easier than just saying blah 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 town.
But the thing is,
yeah, there are Phillies and Atlantas throughout the Midwest, Tony.
Yes. No, I again, intellectually, I know this, right? It's just like in my mind, I'm like, no,
it's like how some people think of Africa. They're like, Africa's savannah, right? Like, you realize there are big cities like the size of New York, and you're like, in Africa? Like, yeah.
Pittsburgh is quite a big city. In
Africa.
Not Africa.
Yeah, no. I mean, in New York,
Brett, go ahead, Chris. Yeah, Chicago. Yeah. Well, no, I knew that. Like in the Midwest, to me, the cities they got over there are Chicago and Detroit, because I know that Detroit from RoboCop.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's just a bunch of farms.
Kansas City really isn't smaller than Chicago. Well, I mean, it's a little smaller than Chicago, but not really much.
One thing I've noticed after traveling around the East Coast, basically, it's like cities or towns with a bunch of like forests and highways in between them. It's like everything, like going to Jersey, going to North Carolina, and going to Albany, everything looks the fucking same.
Dude,
like
that's
interchangeable.
exactly what it is. Yeah. There are big cities surrounded by suburbs, and then they're kind of linked by roads, and there's like towns and farms connecting. That is very actually true. That's
yes. But here's my thing. Here's what I'm guessing.
Between the cities.
Yeah, but the thing is, I'm guessing the further west you go, it changes. Like over here, the filler stuff, as I call it, is forest, right? But I'm guessing when you get to the Midwest, it's fields, and then when you get to the West, it's deserts, right?
Yeah. The filler stuff is similar. Like, actually, Illinois, Chicago, is the worst. Oh my God! When you think of Kansas, you're thinking of Illinois. Just flat cornfields as far as the eye can see. Like it just looks like God forgot to decorate there.
Exactly. Like, what the fuck happened here?
Yeah, it's just flat brown. You're like, I mean, did this place just not render? What the fuck is going on? Yeah. I try and always sleep through Illinois. As you go through Missouri, though, Missouri gets really hilly. It's actually quite beautiful in places. And then you get to Kansas, and Kansas kind of fucking sucks. All the way through halfway through Colorado.
I feel like Albany. I feel like Albany is like that too, where it's all this like just this wasteland. Then eventually the suburb starts, and then there's city.
Yeah,
Albany's interesting. Yeah,
but there's the best way is like most cities are like a borough. Some cities are like 2 or 3 boroughs. There's Class A, Class B, and Class C cities. I will say the interesting thing is, and I'm not sure if you guys get this on the East Coast, because the East Coast kind of has a consolidated mentality. Once you get to like Chicago and westward, I think some cities are assholes. Am I the only one who feels this way? Like St. Louis can suck my dick. Fuck you, St. Louis. I'm sorry to anybody who lives in St. Louis and likes St. Louis, but you're wrong. It's awful. Your city is awful. And this is coming from somebody who lives in Kansas City. Your murder by gun rate is the only one higher than ours.
Damn. Man. All right, with that happy mood.
I'm calling the kettle black, man.
Yeah, right.
That's what I'm saying. Like, from Kansas City, the home of gun violence, I'm saying, get your shit together, St. Louis.
Oh, man. Actually, I'll throw this last thing in there. When I first went to Los Angeles, I hated it. So I was thinking in my mind, okay, I'm probably one of those New Yorkers that just doesn't like any other cities. Then I go to Boston. I'm like, oh, Boston's fucking awesome. This is great. Okay, I guess I just like East Coast cities. Then I go to Anaheim, California. I'm like, Anaheim is fucking awesome. Okay, I just don't like Los Angeles.
No, Los Angeles. I keep telling you,
Los Angeles is fucking horrible. I hate that city.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, when I say that, fuck you, St. Louis, it's for the same reason that I hate Los Angeles. It's like, you guys are just a fucking parking lot dumpster fire of a garbage pit. And in fairness to St. Louis, you guys still suck.
I'm not saying shit.
Your city is so bad that the state stole Kansas City from Kansas.
Damn.
Kansas City. Well, no, that says a lot about Kansas, because Kansas sucks way more. Kansas lost Kansas City to Missouri because it sucks so bad.
Yeah, I'll say this one thing, and I'm saying this as a New Yorker. Los Angeles is too fucking dirty. Again, I'm saying this as a New Yorker. That's to tell you all you need to know, man.
Dude, I mean, they're pretty much the same. No, it's a warm New York.
No, warm New York is way better than even temperate Los Angeles.
No,
Los Angeles
it's a perpetually warm New York. And if you don't have winter, shit gets gross.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. We actually have rain here to wash that shit away occasionally, Not occasionally, often, because it rains here all the fucking time, Los Angeles doesn't have that. That stench just, and that it's disgusting. Like you feel it on your skin at the end of the day. Like you feel the dirt, you know?
Somehow it's a dirty desert. And I don't know, like that makes shit. Man, I'm just talking shit tonight. It's somehow like dusty and sandy, but grimy at the same time.
Yeah, the grimy is very important because you really do feel like you've been swimming in like, you know, garbage, literal garbage that day. It's not just dirt, you know what I'm saying? Like if it was like desert dirt, okay, whatever, you know, but this is like human filth. Blech. Like you can feel the molecules.
Too much people there.
No, it's not the amount of people. Well, the people are fucking assholes there anyway. But it's not really people. It's just the city itself. It's just
blame them. They live in L.A.
Yeah. Oh man.
I love LA.
We probably lost half our audience here.
No, dude, the people there, like they're not big fans of LA. Like,
yeah, that is true.
It's just that the city is too big, and what they'll probably
it's too sprawling. It's like everything's so. Even the natives say like everything's just spread out everywhere. You know,
it wasn't planned well. It's just. I mean, there are parts of it that are pretty cool, but California, that's the thing about California. If you live in LA, you're like, yeah, it sucks. We have another city over there. We have like 5 great cities in our state. Eat a dick. And they do. They win on that one.
That is true. But to be fair though, when we stayed in Beverly Hills was pretty nice. We got to admit that. Beverly Hills, very clean. Obviously, you know, they don't got, you know, the only brown people they got there are people who work there, but you know, like, but that place was fucking nice. It was clean.
Pretty much all the cats that looked like us were pretty much cleaning the tables, the helpers in the front, the people cleaning the rooms.
Yeah. All right, man. Let's get the show started. Yeah, just questions. Okay, this is not an official question. You just gotta throw this in here from Mr. Zilla ×2. He goes, Tony, did you play torrents or hip hop in any games at PAX? No, sir. I was not at PAX. So there you go. All right, let's get to the first question here from Mr. Black Metal Gamer, who's actually joining us in the chat tonight. First question is, are there any fighting games with trash input commands for special moves? He gives Primal Rage as an example. Primal Rage was a fun game, but that game, like, basically, you know how in normal games you have to do like the movement with the D-pad and then press a button, right? For Primal Rage, you have to hold the buttons, then do a D-pad thing. Works great on a fighting stick, not so well on a fight pad. You know, so yeah, that game was pretty bad, you know, on that end. Like, you couldn't pull off super moves or anything because you have to, again, hold the buttons and then do the movement. Really counterintuitive.
I would say a lot of the SNK games, to be honest.
Oh, you don't like those inputs?
I never liked any of to do any of their super moves, or like, you know, even Samurai Showdown was guilty of it too, where they had to do like half circle forward, half circle back in order to do something. Never liked any of that sort of stuff. Or half circle, then press up. I was like, what?
Oh, yeah, you're right about that. They had some weird inputs. Yeah.
Oh, wasn't Virtua Fighter like that too?
No, they didn't. It was just, you know, press forward and kick and they do it, or back and kick and they do different moves.
I'm trying to remember.
It was more simple in its, you know, execution. They didn't have super special moves now.
Yeah, it was basically like, you know, choose a direction and then hit a button and then something will happen. You know, and since it was like a 3D game, each direction would give you a different outcome, you know?
Yeah.
So it was complicated because there was a lot of movements, but it was simple. It wasn't like you didn't have to memorize much.
I like those games. I'm trying to think of the ones that really pissed me off, and I remember there were several of them. I'm trying to remember which ones they were. Are the ones where you have the complicated series of button movements, but they were counterintuitive. Like if you're trying to throw a fireball forward and the combo involves back, like down, back, I'm like, why? Why am I leading my... Look, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, Ryu's Fireball always made sense to me.
Yeah, down forward
punch. Because it kind of feels like charging up and throwing. Like, you're kind of making that motion. That always made sense. The Sonic Boom always made sense. Although there were some moves in Street Fighter that I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Guile super move was pretty hard to do.
Oh, yeah, his is the ultimate hard move because you got to hold down back for 2 seconds, slide to down forward, slide to down back, and then slide to up forward, and then press kick. That thing is, to this day, the hardest fucking move, man.
Oh, I think I got a great answer, actually.
Go ahead.
Fuck you, Mortal Kombat.
Oh, I know you don't like the dial-a-combo shit, right?
The what?
It's called dial-a-combo, where you basically just like, you know, it's like pressing buttons on a phone, like.
Yeah, no. I don't like the dial-a-combos, and like everybody's been in the position where they got to finish him, and they're looking at the fatality list. They're like, all right, do, and they just end up like
punching.
Punching.
Yeah.
The anticlimactic.
Everybody's like, fuck you, Mortal Kombat. Everybody has been in that position.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, the trick for that is hold the block button while you're doing all that shit. But you shouldn't be doing that in the first place, you know? I agree with you. Some moves are kind of bullshit to pull off. Even till now, even with the new Mortal Kombat, even though they come out easier, it's still kind of bullshit,
it's
you know?
better, but Mortal Kombat has always been famous for, as you call them, dial-up combos.
Yeah. Or dial A combo. That's what they call
dial
it.
A combo.
Yeah, it's hilarious. I'm like, that's a perfect description. And that really started with Mortal Kombat 3. That's when the dial A combo really started. It's like, you know?
Yeah, and they would do totally different moves. Like, in other words, it wasn't any moves that they could normally do, like a normal kick or anything like that. It would just be totally different animations for that stupid combo that you would do.
Yeah, and you needed to do it exactly right in order to get those combos to work. You couldn't just really kind of do your own thing because you're right. They had specific animations, so you needed to do the sequence perfectly.
Yeah, so you couldn't mix and match. And that was the thing that really drove me off a lot of those games. That's the whole reason I started like Dead or Alive.
Yeah. What other franchise? Because they got a million fighting games, obviously. I don't know, Manny, with the SNK games, some were better to me than others. Like I felt Samurai Showdown wasn't too bad, but then
Samurai Showdown was a little more Street Fighter than like I would say
like King of Fighters or something.
King of Fighters, Fatal Fury, stuff like that. Funny thing is that those games were designed by the guy who created Street Fighter.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. Chris, you got any games?
I was thinking the original Killer Instinct was hard to dial in moves. I just didn't understand that game playing it in the arcade. You know, I played Samurai Showdown in the arcade, Fatal Fury, all that stuff. Those moves are easy to dial in Street Fighter. I agree with Brett on MK. Only with the fatalities and the friendships and all that stuff were hard to dial in.
Friendship again.
Yeah, but the original KI was like impossible. I couldn't wrap my brain around that fucking game.
What's another one I had on the tip of my tongue? Jesus. All right, somebody else go. Brian, do you have any fighting games that you think have trash super moves or special moves?
Not that I can think of, actually, because I'm just going through all the ones I play, and I play most Tekken and Street Fighter, and they seem to be okay. Never really played anything else but that, so I wouldn't really know.
All right. I remember now.
Right.
Yeah, I remember now. Even though I have fond memories of this game, I wish it would bring it back. I didn't like the inputs in the Eternal Champions. Those were a little weird.
Yeah. Too. Oh, and then for the fatality moves, you it wasn't that you had to do a specific move to do it. You had to push them in a specific location for the fatality to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Again, I really liked that game, but those moves were not easy. You know.
Yeah, weren't easy. fun little past of me and Tony. Me and Tony back in the day used to when Mortal Kombat 2 and 3 came out, we used to make these little like move list forms that we used to kind of sell to other kids at school.
Yeah, that's right. And the funny thing is, me and Manny actually drew them. We drew the characters, right, and then the move list right next to them
to make ours better than the other ones. Like it's like, okay, yeah, they just got jump moves. Well, we got art.
Yeah.
So we would sell the. It was like, what was it, 25 cents or $1 or something like that. We like really, yeah.
Yeah, there was like a weird economic thing when our kids were selling, Mortal Kombat moves and stuff.
Yeah.
And then when Manny and I did to differentiate ourselves, we drew the characters, you know.
Yeah.
That was pretty fun. I think I still have some of those scans around. And I think you and I, we did like half and half each. Like I drew half the characters, you drew the other half.
Yep.
Yeah. Good stuff, man. Yeah, that's a fun fact for you people who didn't know. I used to draw back in the day, man. Yep. All right. Where the fuck are we? Okay. Next question for Mr. Black Metal Gamer. Every part of a generation hold on a second. What is this? Ruben, thank you for following us, man. Oh, Ruben, what's up, man? That's Torrance's friend. I follow.
Thanks, Ruben.
Yeah, we follow each other on Twitter. He's like a camera guy. That's how they know him. Anyway, every part of a generation, we get a gaming trend. In the 90s, we had a lot of fighters. Then we had the JRPG explosion. 7th generation, we had modern military shooters. And now it's Battle Royale. What game genre would you like to see become a trend? Whether you like it or not, something that will always be, whether you like it or not, there's always going to be something that's going to be a zeitgeist thing.
Building
games?
building in games. See, here's the thing. I think all of these trends establish new norms and protocols that were kind of folded into the rest of the games. And I don't think it was each generation. But I think that we did have several subsequent things like the, open world games. And so it's an evolution. It's something gets made and then it gets folded back into other games. So, yeah, I'd like to see building games, and I'd like to see that kind of incorporated back into the mainstream.
Wait, we're talking about like SimCity or something like that? Like
no. like the build mode in Fallout 4 or Rust or Ark or Conan. The kind of things that people are if we're gonna have an open world game, because here's my thing. Battle Royale essentially came from a shorthand, a shorthand, easy, quick version to mimic a lot of the things that happen in perpetual static open world games or shared world games. So if we have a shared world and everybody here in the panel jumped into the shared world and started collecting resources and building their own thing, and they're like, hey, I'm going to build a cool castle, or I'm going to build a cool farm, and just did whatever the fuck they wanted, right? Eventually you'd get to a Game of Thrones type situation where people would be built up, but they need resources from another person's area. So you have the choice to either like talk to them and try and get that kind of stuff, or charge in there and try and attack. Eventually the landscape itself, if the world is built correctly, kind of funnels players into either friendly, or they funnels players into meeting each other. And then whether the players end up being friendly or hostile towards each other is really up to the players. So it creates a playground. They've done the idea of this was then kind of shorthanded in battle royale games by very intentionally closing the circle. So it forces players very artificially into a smaller area in a very quick time frame. But I think that as that idea catches on, people will look at it just the opposite way. They won't look at it like, oh, Ark type games came, or battle royale type games came from games like Ark. Games like Ark will start to pop up, and people think that like, oh, this is just like, they'll describe it as a constant battle royale without a closing circle. Be like, so what makes you fight? Be like, well, you look out fights with other players, or there are other other NPCs on the map. So if you're trying to do a Destiny type game, like, you may end up going into somebody's territory. So the gameplay ends up being dynamic. I think when players are allowed to build bases in a static world, it creates a really interesting dynamic that just about always ends up in a Game of Thrones style situation, which is, so you have your static storyline that you're following, you're doing all of these things, and now you're having these dynamic, interactive things with other players. And I know that that's not everybody's cup of tea, but I think it's a great way to keep replayability up, keep a game from getting stale. I mean, these are the games I see on Steam that have thousands of hours racked up. These are the games that fucking, everybody will always want their arena games, but the other end of the spectrum, I'd like to see some of that introduced too.
All right.
Does any of that make any sense?
I think it went a little over my head, to be honest. It's all good. This is gonna be an unpopular thing to say, because this used to be my favorite genre until they stopped making them, or at least in the quantity of before. I want platformers to come back. I'm talking about AAA platformers, not these indie games like Sly Cooper, Jax, those type of games. I would love a resurgence of that. And since and I'm using the word trend kind of literally, trend is something that eventually goes away. So I would love for it to come back for like a good year or two and then just go away again. So we appreciate what we had. What happened?
I said real quick,
yes.
Hasn't the idea of platforming been kind of incorporated into games, though? Other games, like open world games?
Yes, it has. But I'm not really talking about the idea. I'm just talking about the, I'm taking the
you just
question
want a
literally.
Pure platform.
Yes, because when for example, when I play stuff like Mario Odyssey, to me, that's like the essence of a video game. That's perfectly encapsulates what a video game is. It's just you and the mechanics, and you trying to figure out how to work and stuff, and just having a lot of fun. You're not really worried about story and that stuff. You're just there. It's just you and the mechanics, and that's that. Like, a lot of games, they throw a lot of stuff. That stuff is great. Don't get me wrong. I'm a narrative guy myself, but I kind of miss the simplicity of gaming that only a platformer could give you.
I hear they just came out with a really good platformer in VR, Tony.
Yeah, but that's VR. I'm not trying to mess with all that shit.
Yeah.
Come on, and I'm talking about traditional.
I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, And again, I have to repeat it again because somebody's going to come in here. Not indie games. I'm not talking about that. High AAA shit. That's the shit I want. Yeah, they'll be nice to come back, but you're right. Some of the platforming stuff has been incorporated nice into first person. Because remember when they had Mirror's Edge, that shit didn't work well. But then by the time you had Dying Light, I'm like, oh shit, they made it work. They made this show work. Now everybody's doing that. Yeah, that's coming. That's coming.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah, that's coming.
You ready for Zombie Batman?
Yeah. So get ready for that. So that's what I want to come back, even for a little bit. Because if it's a trend, it's going to go away eventually. I want like honest to goodness 3D platformers. 2D platformers would be nice too, actually. But I think the indie scene has robbed those. So like pretty much the PlayStation 2 era platformers. Yeah.
I'm going to challenge you on this, Tony. Is this a trend that you want to see or you want to see come back? I don't know if a half step back is really.
It's not how is it a half step back?
Well, it's bringing back. So you qualify a trend as something that disappears. So you want to bring back something that used to be on the qualification that it won't be again. So it just seems like you want this kind of flash in the pan. I think what he's saying is along the lines of like I'm talking about, and of course biased, but a trend becomes a staple as it's kind of folded into the.
But he didn't use the word staple in any of this. He didn't use the word.
No, but he says future trends, not past trends or retreads. Like
he didn't say future trends either.
I'm just saying. Is there anything that you want to see done that hasn't been done before?
Yeah, but that's a different question. It's a good question. Don't get me wrong. There's a good question, but that's not the question. At least the way I'm understanding it.
How's everybody else hearing this question? Yeah. I'm curious.
Yeah, because I'm reading it as he says. What trend do you want to see? In games. So the way you and I, even though you and I answer differently, I don't think either of us is wrong either. You know what I'm saying, Brett?
Okay, well then I was just asking your opinion. Can you tell me as well on top of that? Because I'm personally curious. Like, what do you want to see that hasn't been done?
Okay, I'm going to say this again. Okay, even though the movie sucked, X-Men Origins Wolverine, the game was amazing. Great game. One of the cool things they did in it is if you killed a certain type of enemy enough, it'll become easier to kill them. You could just kill them in one hit because you have a lot of experience. I would love to see JRPGs or RPGs period do that, because why is it that I'm fighting the same motherfuckers I fought in the beginning at the end, and they take just as much damage? I'm like, shouldn't I have experience killing these fucking zombies? So I love how Wolverine did that, but no, when I played that time, I'm like, this is gonna be fucking huge. Nope, nobody did it again, even though it makes perfect sense. And I'm not talking about like you're so beefy that you kill the weaker enemies fast. It's just that the concept of you have so much experience fighting these types of foes that they no longer present a challenge to you. I kind of want to see more games incorporate that. But the question is for a genre, not a mechanic. But I hope that answers your question though, Brett.
It does, actually. And I think that'd be pretty fucking cool. And I didn't realize that until you said something. But why the fuck can't you bust in there like an action movie badass if you've been training for 30 hours in a video game?
Yeah,
against level 1 noobs.
Yeah, it's not even that. It's like, there's the mech robot. I fought 100 of these. Why is this taking me the same amount of time to beat it? It's like, it shouldn't work like that,
Well, would you accept that skill was put off to the player? Like, you have to learn where a weak spot is, and eventually you're just like, oh yeah, man, I just aim for the fuel tank. On these guys, it's behind the back left foot. Boom, done.
Yeah. I think it's a little different, though, because, I like the way Wolverine did it. It was just more simplified. You didn't have to think about it. It's just kill 100 of these guys, and now you could all make it kill those guys easy from now on. Yeah. All right. Anybody else? What trend do you want to? What trend would you like to see? Have its day in the sun, or what? Yeah. What gaming genre would you like to see? Become a trend.
See, Shadow of Mordor wasn't a genre. It's just like
a mechanic.
It's a mechanic that was great. The Nemesis system was like fantastic. Like the whole idea, like you get attacked by these guys and maybe you killed one of them and they come back and they want revenge and all this shit. That was really neat. And that they called out your name, and they come and fight you and you have this duel. That was neat.
I'm really surprised that didn't catch on, man. Like I think I was one of the biggest advocates. I was like, this is gonna be the next big thing.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah. Well, they ruined it. They Shadow Mordor 2.
Yeah, they fucked that up.
Oh my god! I want to play a superhero game, not a Marvel or DC game, but any kind of superhero game where you have the nemesis. Like, how badass would it be if you had a cadre of supervillains who you were constantly like? They started off as like small time crooks, and like you Batman the shit out of them until they become like huge city stomping villains.
Yeah.
Yeah, GZDR says every superhero movie is accompanied by a video game release. We don't need that trend to come back.
No. I'd like to see it like almost like they did with Infamous, where it's not based off a character that you've seen. You're just like, you're a superhero.
Yeah. Infamous is a good example. Yeah, and even though I didn't like the game that much, Prototype is another superhero game that's not a superhero. You know what I'm saying? That would be cool. Like, I don't know why they don't do more. Like, just a guy with superpowers, you know? I guess
you could make your own superhero.
Yeah, but then
you could make your own powers.
Yeah, I guess Crackdown kind of a superhero game if you think about it.
Well, Infamous did that.
Yeah, Infamous too, you know. All right, and hold on. Who didn't go yet? Chris, did you go?
Yeah, I was talking about the Nemesis system.
Nemesis system. Yeah, but I'll accept it because it's kind of hard. Brian, what about you?
You guys pretty much just nailed it. Yeah, I was about to say the Infamous. Yeah, about to say the thing is the Nemesis, because I thought that was just great fun. Like, you go beat some guys up, and then they turn around and say, "Hey, you were like stuck around the trees, and now I want to kill you." Like, wait, what? How did you know I was doing that? Like, the fuck? Yeah, it just fucks. It's like one of the few things where the game fucks with you back, and you just don't notice it until like you start like paying attention to it. Yeah, I'd say that. And that's all I really have, really.
Yeah. By the way, I'm looking at our questions. We actually have a extremely similar question down the line, which I think we more or less answered. Would you like to see this stuff become standard next generation? These mechanics specifically. This is from Johnny W. Uppercut. He asked, "What mechanics and systems would you like to see become standard next gen?" Yes, I would like that leveling system to become a standard from Wolverine. That'd be fucking amazing.
Yeah, that game was good. The movie's terrible. That game was really good.
Yeah.
Can I just say, like, does anybody other than me want to see building and structural destruction? Like, am I the only one that wants to be able to build a base in a game?
I don't think so. I think that's a neat
thing.
Well,
I think he's talking about the panel. I know, you know me, I don't care.
Manny's shrugging down there in the corner.
Yeah, you know me and Manny, we're like, no, don't care.
I mean, here's the thing. I don't mind building things, but I also have the other part of myself, like being creative as well, you know, being creative as a job, and then also going into a game and just kind of, you know, building a whole world. I just don't want to do it because I know myself. I'll get too involved, and then I will all of the thing that my livelihood will go out the window.
Okay, now I was about to say I'm creative for a living. I thought you were going to say I'm creative for a living. I don't want to do it in a game. I'm like, I'm creative.
No. It has nothing to do with the fact that I don't want to do it in the game. It has to do with the fact that I will get too involved with it and I will not stop.
Okay, that I completely understand.
Hey, that's my reason for not playing MMOs. I'm like, I already know my tendencies. No, Tony, don't fucking do it. You know?
Stay off the pipe, Tony. Stay off the pipe.
Exactly.
There's some of those things where just like, I can't do this. I can't, just exploring every single point. I know I want to do it, but I got to get this over with.
Yeah.
For me, for a genre, I guess the comeback. I mean, to be honest, it's like, you never know what's going to be the next thing, and for me, I would just like to see some more variety of actual games sort of come out. I mean, like, you have like all kinds of different types of genres that are just kind of lost to the wayside to the, you know, ever loving action adventure game, you know, which is the master of everything, but not, you know what I mean? Like, it does everything that you could possibly want to do. You can jump in it, you can platform, you got little RPG elements, you got guns or swords.
And now open world.
Yeah, and now open world. So I kind of want, more concentrated versions of these genres that are specifically that genre. For instance, I'm not going to, like an RPG that's an actual RPG as opposed to being an action RPG, where you have to, do, level up everything in your account thing, stuff like that. Like I'd like to like a back to some genres to kind of go back to basics instead of trying to please everybody.
All right. All right. I think we pretty much answered both of those questions. Actually, just to make sure everybody said their thing for standards as well. Would you like to see these things become standards next gen?
For me, mine is my idea is that these kind of classic genres coming back can live in tandem with the whatever is out currently. I just want them to just to be a little bit more variety of these genres that were kind of lost. Like I love point and click adventures, but for some reason people decided that it's not an effective way to tell a story, which I think there's room for everything.
What about the Telltale games?
Telltale games. What were those games at the end? They were not point and click adventures.
Yeah, that is true. By the end, yes, you're right about that.
By the end, once we got the Walking Dead games, they kind of started that trend of just you're moving in a direction. There's no real nothing to it.
Like you want the LucasArts shit, right?
Like, yeah, I like the old LucasArts games, the Sierra games, Dynamite or whatever like Dynamics, like those sorts of games where you asked to solve a little bit of a puzzle, you have some fun witty dialogue or something like that, just to kind of get into that world. You can pretty much die, but not really, stuff like that. I think there's room for those type of games. I just feel like a lot of times it just because of how everybody, again, because the action adventure genre has kind of eaten up all the other genres of games. They're kind of everything, as opposed to just like, hey, this is just a action game. Like you were saying, I want to see platformers again. Yeah, I'd like to see platformers again too.
Yeah, man.
But again, they got absorbed into the action and adventure genre.
Yeah, Isaac in the chat agrees with you about Telltale. He's like the early games were like that. Then after Walking Dead, everything changed. He says Wadjet Eye is the closest game studio you have to modern adventure games. Yeah, Wadjet Eye. I interviewed their CEO a couple years ago for SCFU. Yeah, they do classic point and click adventure games, like the real.
Oh
shit,
God, I miss those. I love those so much.
Yeah, so go check out Wadjet Eye's games, man. They do that. Those kind of games specifically. So, Manny, this is the way I'm hearing it. You're kind of tired of like Applebee's games. You want like a dedicated a pizzeria that only serves. Pizza.
I would like I'd like to go to a pizzeria instead of Applebee's or Fridays that also sells pizza and hot dogs and everything else under the sun.
All right, when you put it that way, holy shit.
Yeah.
Hey, can I does Absolver count as a genre?
It's to me it's a fighting game. It's a different type of fighting game, but it's a fighting game.
Because I'd like to see that mechanic, since we've been talking about mechanics. Like, I really loved both the build your own combo move and the directional combat system in that game.
Yeah,
like it was pretty cool, and it makes sense. Like, how are you gonna throw a backwards flying elbow at somebody if they're in front of you? You're gonna have to take the time to like actually spin around and fucking do it, and that time wasted may catch you a punch in the face. Makes sense.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it thoroughly. I'm so sad that game is dead.
Man, yeah, but there you go. There's something that could come back. And then when it does come back, people are gonna praise it, and then you're gonna be screaming, "Why weren't you playing Absolver, motherfuckers?"
No. What's gonna happen is that mechanic is gonna somehow work its way into the action adventure.
Yes, yeah. It's just
I would actually love that. Like, why the fuck not? Like, why do I have to find it? And here's the thing, like, it was great because like, why do I have to find a dagger that does +2 damage? That's super fucking stupid. But the idea of like, I loved the mechanics in that game so much, like, because there was only like 7 hours of gameplay, and like everybody was in the same boat. They ran through the gameplay and like, cool, so trial's over. What do you do now? You roam around the game wasteland looking for a challenger, like a Ronin samurai. And so you do. You just run around and you see somebody and you fucking beat the ever-loving shit out of them. And after you've done enough of that, you start running combat trials and like getting new gear so that you can have like a crazy mask when you show up on the horizon. And like you silently like tell somebody to fucking bring it on. You just beat the ever living shit out of them and hunting down moves, finding somebody that knows a move that you don't, and then kind of like toying with them through the match, like blocking and parrying to try and figure out exactly how they're doing the move, and then beating the crap out of them and like taking that move and using it on another person and learning how to use it. building it into your repertoire. It feels natural. It gave me something to work for other than gear with just random static numbers on it.
Yeah. All right. Last thing, because we got a lot more questions to go.
That's the one thing I'm a little bit disappointed about with a lot of these sort of games, like these looter sort of games, where it's like it's the unending gathering of all this gear that sometimes doesn't look any different than the last, except for the numbers on it. That sort of stuff bores me. It's like, okay, now what? We're gonna play. I'm not the strongest at math, and the minute you start throwing in math into the mix, I'm like, ugh, stop it.
Yeah, don't worry, man. It's math for stupid people like us. It's like that number's higher. Go for that. But
I mean, it's like going back to God of a game like God of War. Where, again, they're using the kind of looter whatever thing, right? You're constantly collecting gear. There's always some sort of con behind any single one pair of gear, so you end up just leveling up the same gear that you had from the beginning of the game. That's at least what I did.
Oh man. All right, let's move on here. Sketch, do you guys think the whole Anthem debacle will actually lead to unions in video game development, or will this just pass on with time and the status quo will continue?
It'll pass on.
I think so, yeah. Because as we've discussed many times, what can these developers do? Hire somebody else. And that's it.
Yeah,
that is the biggest problem with this, because this would involve the whole industry. This would be the big guys having to agree to do a union. They're not going to do that.
They're not doing that.
They're never going to do that.
You're under the false assumption that anybody in the creative field is treated like a human.
Yeah, exactly. They're not. They're just tools to be disposed of when they need to be disposed of.
To be honest,
that's just a fact.
One guy, like you heard all those stories about what's going on there. You know what happened though? The other part of it is just like, okay, yeah, the guy burnt out. What do? They hire another guy to replace him.
That's it. They're behind every person that's actually there working a job, there's 100 other people behind them wanting the same job. Mm-hmm. As sad as it is, people in creative fields are disposable. They are. Mm-hmm. So these people they're never going to unionize. Like
as long as you, and then again, as long as you have new kid every single year, kids are coming out of school with these degrees and all these talented programmers. Every single year that happens. There's a constant flow of talented people that are coming out. So
who are willing to work for pennies on the dollar for
exactly.
Yeah,
who are willing to undercut themselves to work in the industry.
Yep. Where
it's like, hey, we're only paying you like $2 or whatever, $15 an hour, right? That's you should feel honored that you have a job at blah blah blah, company.
Yep. That's how they word it, So yeah.
I can say.
They never overtly say that.
Of course not. Go ahead.
I could say it. You're lucky for the experience of working at Marvel. It carries heavy weight on your resume. You shouldn't worry too much about how much you're getting paid because of the experience. Or even earlier in your career, don't worry about getting paid. Period. You'll get exposure.
Yeah, exactly. How many times have you heard that?
You get to work from and that's the thing. These guys they're right at the sweet spot where they've been working for free. So you offer them anything, and they're gonna jump at it. And these are the people that are clamoring for the job.
Yeah, and I mean, there's some studios out there that were just running off of interns. Literally just a constant cycle of interns constantly coming in. They had very little real staff, and all that what happened was they just, essentially train the intern to do a little, whatever, and then when the school year goes out, they get a new batch of them. And even the worst thing about it is that some schools actually charge people, to take an internship. So in other words, it's like they're paying for a class to be working at these places, and some of these places don't accept interns that are not getting their internship directly through their school.
That's how tattooing is. I'll be straight up. Because there are so many people that want to get into tattooing, there are hurdles that you have to jump, and you should see the faces of people when I tell them, well, what do I have to do to get an apprenticeship? You need to bring me a stronger portfolio than 90% of other applicants. Mm-hmm. You need to show me that you have a strong fundamental grasp of art, not just a highly polished, rickety ass piece of shit. You can polish a dog turd, but if you've learned off of really bad fundamentals, I do not want to take the time to reteach you everything from the ground up. You need to be open to the idea of learning from somebody. You need to have never tattooed before to develop bad habits. And then there comes the whole, you have to come in and work at least 20 to 25 hours a week for no money, and you have to put down anywhere between $2,000 and $10,000. Not put down, pay. You need to pay anywhere between $2,000 and $10,000. I'm like, I gotta pay to be here? Like, yeah, motherfucker, it's like college. You show up and you learn, and while you're here, we're gonna work the shit out of you. Just be glad that you have this opportunity. Yes, you will pay and work. I work 60 hours a fucking week. You're just lucky we're letting you only work 25 so that you can have a part-time job so that you don't starve to death. And the reason we can do that is there's 90 other fucking people out there who want a tattoo apprenticeship. And we only take one like every 3 fucking years.
Yep, that's how it is. So, it's all the same, man. Like, they're not going to unionize, or at least they're not going to, Activision, EA, all these, they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that.
Yeah, it to be honest, it's like for them to do, like, to use an example, the animation industry, this is one thing that this has happened in recent years. And it is the reason why currently very little animation is being done in the United States. Back then in the 80s, there was a strike, right? With a lot of the animation studios, the guys that made He-Man and a bunch of other companies, they decided, all the animators went on strike. And what the big companies decided to do, they said, rather than negotiate, they said, oh shit, Japan charges way less than us hiring these guys. We don't need to negotiate with this. Fuck it, we're going to Japan. And that's why we got stuff like G.I. Joe's all animated by the Japanese, all those shows based on toys, all animated by Japanese because it was cheap.
And I'm going to give you an example that's not only about video games, but closer. Remember 3 years ago when they had the actor strike, right? Mm-hmm. What did the video game developers do? They just got new actors. That's it. They don't need them,
They don't, and that's another situation where it's like, because officially there is no, the video game studios don't actually have a full-on contract with, I don't know how their contracts work with SAG work, but if they are working on a non-Screen Actors Guild game, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if it's not like how deep the Screen Actors Guild and the Directors Guild are all connected together. So like in film and TV animation and all that stuff in the United States, you have to, in order, a show has to be a full guild show. So all the unions have to be working on it. So that means your director has to be part of the Directors Guild, your writer has to be part of the Writers Guild, all the staff have to be part of the different guilds. If they are not, this is what is called a non-guild show. So that means that they don't get, if it's a non-guild show, some actors are not, and actors or directors, actually all actors and art directors are not allowed to work on a non-guild show. So I worked on a show, Ninja Turtles, right? That show was a non-guild show. So that meant that we couldn't get any sort of famous actors because it would be going against their contract. Sometimes what happens is that the actors and actresses decide to use a pseudonym. They can't use their official real name, so they use some fake name to kind of get around everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Couple of things here. GZDR says they should form, I'm going to read both of his statements and we'll comment. They should form a union just to get equity and the profits from the game, a salary and a part of the profit. 200 people work on a game. It sells 50 million times $60 equals $3 billion. You're telling me you can't give each of these workers 1 million cash if you decide to let them go? Come on. That's not the way it works, man.
Dude,
and Chris has broken down how the profits and all that work. But again, it all comes back down to this. Why would they do that when they could just fire everybody and hire some dudes from India for way cheaper?
Exactly. That is the slippery slope of unions. As good as it is to kind of, that it will help a lot of people. Again, the game companies have to agree to do this, and to be honest, I'm going to say this. Most of the time, what's going to happen is they're going to be like, well, in India they charge way less, so why don't we just hire them? Then have a couple of key people watching over them. What do you think happened with Mass Effect Andromeda? That game wasn't fully developed by BioWare. There was a bunch of other companies that were they handed off the game, portions of the game to other game studios. Game studios were probably not in the United States.
Yeah, exactly.
Or not, excuse me, not in the West. You know.
Yeah, and I think this is important. Chris, can you please tell us just quickly how the breakdown of a game goes? Like $60, the company doesn't make all that $60. That's not the way it is.
No, there's different things to consider. Companies have to pay corporate taxes, of course, and then if it's a foreign game, they have to worry about foreign exchange rates, paying tariffs and such to ship it, marketing costs. There's all sorts of costs associated with the game before you even talk about profit, like what you actually make. You can have gross profit, but then you get taxes, and then you get tariffs, and then you get foreign exchange or whatever. When you calculate all that down, then you have your net profit, which is way smaller, right? So corporations are going to worry about like, oh, we have to let this guy go. We'll give him a giant severance. No, like for all the reasons Tony said, they can. Everybody's looked at as a resource, as replaceable.
That's just how it is, man. Yeah, those $60. Yeah, those $60 are. It's not all profit. Most games do not make a profit. That's the other thing people don't seem to understand. Most games do not make a profit.
With the exception of the top guys, those guys are not the ones that are expendable. It's all the guys, the grunts that are making the games.
And that's the other thing. That's the other thing. When this happens, you think all the guys up top are going to lose their jobs? No, it's going to be all the grunts. They lose their jobs.
Yeah. Just because some douchebag at the top decided to make a stupid ass decision over some silliness, they're not going to lose their job. They're going to fail right up. They're going to get if they do get let go, some other dumbass company is going to pick them up and be like, "Oh, hey, you worked on these games, Mob. Let's work over here." And then the cycle continues.
Yep.
Can I give an example?
Yes.
Or turn the argument on its head. So you make $400 a week. I'd say that's pretty fair. You make $400 a week. Netflix is asking for $10 a month. How the fuck can you not afford that? How the fuck are you bitching when they go from $10 to $12 a month? Well, you make $1,600 a month. So $10 a month shouldn't really be a big deal. But you have to pay your rent out of that $1,600. You have to pay your bills out of that $1,600. You have to eat every day. You have to set some money aside in case your car breaks down. You have a budget that you have to follow. And when you actually break down your budget, you find you're spending too much money. So you need to cut some of the smaller costs that you find are expendable. And you look around and you're like, well, I don't need Hulu and Netflix. Like, I really don't need both. So you know what? I'm going to cut Hulu. And you cut Hulu and everybody's like, dude, what the fuck? You're making $1,600 a month and you're cutting Hulu for $12 a month? Why? You know what? Hulu really deserves for you to just give them like $100 a month. They're like half your fucking entertainment. They're the one making you happy. They're the one sitting at home giving you content. They spend millions of dollars on these shows and they're just fucking giving them to you. And you're bitching about $60 a month. You should be appreciative and give them $100 a month. I mean, it sounds reasonable when you break it down that way. But in truth, when you get there, like any normal person with a budget, you're like, dude, like $10 here, $10 there adds up. I need to cut some of these costs. And it's a shitty thing. And this is the problem with thinking of people like resources and numbers, because it makes sense when you're talking about resources and numbers like this. But when you're talking about people, suddenly the conversation changes. Yeah, when you're talking about people, a company that's run probably not by shareholders is going to give you more options. They're going to be nicer to their employees. Fuck, they may give them a profit share. But when you're looking at it as strictly resources, as shareholders do, then you're kind of looking down the barrel of this loaded gun, and this is the only way that's going to end. And oh, by the way, if you have a 401k or investment or retirement in any way, or it's any kind of investment through any kind of firm, you are part of this problem. I want to share that too. That's something that I've realized we don't really talk about much on this show, because we talk about voting with your wallet and everything like that. Vote with your wallet the other way. Buy or sell shares in the companies that you believe in. Or if you don't like this kind of behavior, then don't invest in these kinds of companies. But most people don't know what their investments are in. They don't know how their 401k is being handled. They don't know how a lot of they just pass it off to an investment firm that has a low risk kind of thing, and they move on. And the low risk yields come from this kind of shit. Come from companies having to trim the bottom line. And I'm not preaching anybody, but I'm not saying that there's a result to that or a way to resolve this or anything like that. I'm just saying we should all be fucking aware of the problem and where it lies and where the blame lies. And the blame lies on fucking mostly everybody.
Yeah. Again, guys got to keep all this stuff in your heads, man, because you think, oh yeah, they make $60, it's like they don't make all that money, bro. They're probably going to be in the red, after making all that shit. Because again, you don't just materialize the game out of thin air. It takes years. That's money, People need to understand that shit. All right, let's move on here. Where the fuck are we? Annihilator. If Souls games were as easy as most games out now, do you think they would be as popular?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Yeah. I don't think
so
at all.
That's the appeal. Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, that's the appeal, the challenge. Because what was the main complaint coming into like modern games and even modern platformers that we love, by the way. I still love Ratchet and Clank, whatever. Well, what did they get rid of? They got rid of things that Japanese developers put in to test you. They got rid of the ambiguous clock that would run out and you die. They got rid of lives. You just keep falling and dying and whatever. And you just pop back up where you left off, So they just made things easy. They took out the things that are like, what? Why was this necessary? This is an arcade thing. We don't need this shit anymore. But then that made the game easier, right? And they took some of the challenge out of it. So Souls coming to the mainstream was like a breath of like fresh air, like nostalgia. It was like, holy shit, this thing is brutally hard. I'm getting my ass kicked by this knight over here. He isn't even a boss. He's a sub boss. He's a scrub. He's scrub number 5 over here kicking my ass. So that changed everything. That harkened back to like Castlevania and Blaster Master, or you like fucking like tense. How are you gonna approach this? Like how are you gonna fight this guy? And if you take that away, if you took that out of Souls, it'd just be like some fucking jag off in armor, like just chopping up some other dude. It's like it wouldn't be memorable.
Yeah, that's like a key thing about that game. Like, and you're right. I remember when Demon Souls came out. We got to bring it back to that. Got to bring it back to the original, right? People were like, "Oh shit, I haven't played a game like this since I was a kid." That was the main thing people were saying, because it was just that level of tough. Now, obviously, even Demon Souls still not as hard as those old games. There's still things in there that help you out a little bit, but it brought people back to that. And if you strip that out, then what would make those games any different than, any like these other medieval games or whatever? It wouldn't. Like the challenge is an integral part of it. There's other things in there, obviously, like the art style, the story or whatever, the lore that's appealing as well. But that is the main thing that people love about the I don't know, should I call it a franchise? I don't know what the fuck, but you know what I'm talking about, these games.
Yeah. It's a genre.
It's a genre. Thank you, Brett. That's why people like that. That's why people love Neo, Sekiro right now. People love this shit for a specific reason. I think it's good that we have games like that to remind you, like, hey, games could be challenging too. Remember when games used to actually challenge you? They don't really do. If you play a game right now, you're guaranteed you're going to beat that thing. You didn't feel that way 30 years ago. You do for a fact. You're probably not going to finish this fucking game. Now, yeah, go ahead.
We used to bitch about cutscenes. There being too many cutscenes. When cutscenes first came out, they started going fucking ham on them. Like, I remember how weird, like, when fucking, what was it, Metal Gear 3 came out, people were just like, Jesus fucking Christ, it's just too much. Like, there was a thing at a certain time, there was an idea that a game can be too cinematic, that you can just be, like, just pressing X to continue through the game, and, like, it wasn't considered as much of a game. Now it's kind of been normalized. You can just kind of press forward and move through the game. But I think the thing that really hooked the Souls games was, as a genre, was, and I think Tony was the one that touched on it, or no, Chris was the one that touched on it. This is a scrub. This is scrub number 5, and he could murder me. There's a certain idea of every encounter being a possible deadly encounter that I think is supposed to mimic just about every encounter in a video game, whether you're playing, a game where you're running along with swords and a shield, or if you're firing guns at each other. Like, the idea should be that anybody can kill you, and the fact that you could walk into just about any firefight in any modern video game with this weird imaginary magical armor, and sometimes, like, Nathan Drake can take, like, I don't know, 12 bullet wounds and then just sit behind a box for 30 seconds and then pop up and murder 7 guys. Like, we don't really blink at it, but the idea of being, like, constantly on guard, having to approach every encounter as if you get late, like, there are several, like, scrubs in Dark Souls, like, even random enemies, like, yeah, I can kill all of these guys no problem, not take a lick of health, unless I just happen to do the wrong thing or stop paying attention or get lazy. And the second I get lazy, boom, I'm fucking dead. And that having to have that constant caution, that constant awareness, I think is one of the signatures of the game. And I don't think it has anything to do with the setting or the story or anything. You could incorporate that into any type of game. I mean, have a game where instead of running into, or have a firefight where instead of running into a room, you take severe fucking bullet damage, and you're not fighting 30 guys, you're fighting 2 or 1. Have an infiltrator mission where, like you crank up that difficulty, not necessarily by swarming people with enemies, but by making the encounters impactful and making them count. And I think you can replicate that recipe into just about any genre.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to disagree with that. Like, obviously, the appeal of these games is the difficulty, All right, moving on here. Johnny W. Uppercut, we're coming back to you. He goes, what's up, fellas? I hope all is well. And I'm continuing to enjoy your shows, especially when Tony and Adam have disagreements. Oh, man, you know what? I'll pull this out later, but somebody for the last show, they said that they said, I'm paraphrasing. They go, Brett's passionate, thoughtful, sayings versus Tony's no bullshit, no frills thing is the best comedy on YouTube. You guys are awesome. So thank you, sir. I'll give you a proper shot on the next show.
That.
Yeah. All right. So his question is: have any of you guys watched KidSmoove's Sekiro challenge videos? For you guys who don't know, KidSmoove, he's on the Weapon Wheel podcast, and the bet was. One of the fans, they said if you could beat Sekiro in 40 hours, we will give you $1,000. And like a bunch of the panelists gathered the money together and shit. Okay, KidSmoove playing this game. And Chris, I told you this. Your stream was good. It don't got shit on KidSmoove. This shit is fucking hilarious. This guy's crying on camera and shit. He's screaming, tears coming down his face. His wife is yelling at him because he's going too crazy. His kids are crying. It's hilarious. Wow. It's the greatest thing ever. So I haven't watched all of it. I just watched some of it, but it is amazing. I implore everybody on this panel to check out even like 10 minutes of KidSmoove playing. It is fucking gold. This guy gets so heated. He's yelling. His wife's like, calm down. Oh man,
Chris, that gamer craze.
Yeah, Chris, did you see any of it? Because it is gold, man. It is hilarious.
No, I didn't. I mean, I heard about it. I think you and somebody else told me about his stream. I should watch it.
Yeah. What was the last Cuphead? Cuphead was the last one. I think he failed that challenge. But I think now they said, okay, beat the game in 50 hours and you'll get the money, But the thing is, okay, props to KidSmoove. He is making bank off those fucking YouTube things with super chats. He's making a ton of money, So even if he loses the challenge, he still wins. Yeah. And I'm like, how isn't this dude bigger? This is fucking comedic gold. This guy's, you see the tears. It's hilarious.
Damn.
Man, being real make you money.
Hey, I'm sorry. You know me, hip hop gamer. That's my motherfucking dude, right? That's my friend. Been very supportive of me. KidSmoove is more of a real gamer right now. I'm just saying, hip hop.
Oh shit!
Hip hop, man. Hip hop. I'm just saying, KidSmoove. The guy. I'm gonna say, KidSmoove sucks at video games, but at least he ain't playing with cheats. In hip hop, you're good at video games, bro. You shouldn't be playing with him, man. Oh Jesus. Again, yeah. I'm just being real. KidSmoove kind of sucks at video games, but he's playing it normally.
I mean. Never mind.
Okay, we'll leave it alone. All right. Moving on here. G Megaforce 123. By the way, quick thing. G Megaforce used to write these long essays for questions. Now that he's on, in the Discord, he's asking very precise questions. I don't know what happened. It's kind of interesting. So the first one is yeah, right. First one kind of related to what we've been talking about. Does your pride get in the way of playing a game on easy?
Yes.
Yes. Absolutely.
I will not do that.
I've never ever put it on easy mode. Any game, never.
For trophies, I would like if after I get the trophy and stuff. Like, you can go back and play.
If it doesn't pop, if it doesn't pop for easy mode, then I will do that. But that's after I play it normally. But there's games. Even God of War did this when you get killed multiple times. It's like, hey, do you want to turn the difficulty down? I'm like, no, motherfuckers, just let me go back in there. Don't ask me.
I hate that.
But the funny thing is, the hilarious thing is, it's like, hey, do you want us to turn the difficulty down? And it's like, it wasn't the difficulty of the game that was doing it. It was the stupid platforming that was doing it.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, especially in fucking Hades.
Yeah, platforming that even the developers admitted, like, we probably should have play tested that more. Like, they fucked up. But how aggravating was that? Like, you're doing the Hades mission and you keep dying and dying. The game's like, would you like to put it on easy mode? Like, combat will be something. Like, combat isn't the fucking problem right now.
It's because you dumbasses didn't test this shit.
Exactly. So pride obviously gets in the way of it. Like, you put on easy, like, you're fucking Herb, Although I have put some games on easy just because I'm, like, I just want to just get through it. But I always go back to normal. Like for Devil May Cry 5. Admittedly, I've never been good at these games, so I played it on easy just to get a feel for it, and I'm halfway through normal. So I learned that playing it on easy helped me just learn the combos and stuff. But generally speaking, especially since I'm reviewing games, I try to play it the way everybody else is trying to play it. Unless people are just playing it on easy now, I don't know if they are, but I try to play it just on normal.
Yeah, reviewers do.
Oh, man, don't get me started on that. But on the flip side, I also, unless it's for a trophy, I also don't play it on hard. I'm like, what's the fucking point? I like, they just play normal.
Hard is it's just bullet sponging.
Yeah, it's cheesy. It's cheesy, It
doesn't actually make it better.
It's not genuinely like, it's just like kind of like, oh yeah, now they shoot you and you die faster, rather than actually making an effective, like, something that's effectively harder.
Yeah, the only game I remember playing where I put it on hard, like, and it actually like affected it was not all the other ones, just the very first Uncharted. I'm like, okay, I'm noticing my shots kill enemies the same, quickly, but they're smarter now. But ever since Uncharted 2, it just became the same enemies. They just bullet sponges. I'm like, why didn't you do that? Just make the enemies smarter. That's how hard mode should be. Because it's like, okay, if I shoot a guy in the head, he's gonna die no matter what the difficulty is. But if you put on hard in most games, you need like 3 or 4 shots to kill him in the head. It's fucking cheesy. That's the main reason I don't put it on hard, because it's not really hard. It's just frustrating.
Or everybody's wearing helmets.
Even with the Dark Souls games, it's like those games are more challenging than hard because they're not really cheesy. You know what I'm saying? If you fuck up, it's because if you die, it's because you fucked up. Not
they're hard. They're hard but fair, like a 1950s dad.
Exactly. Oh man. All right. Next question.
Wait, before we go
ahead.
I just want to say, I actually roll so hard the other way. Like, I not only will not play a game on easy because of my pride, I will go play games because of the difficulty. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I didn't hook to Dark Souls the first time I played it. I was like, Japanese RPG, looks a little dated. Everything's like really dreary and empty, and I don't really know what's going on here. Like, I don't really know about this. And I kind of put it down for a little while. And then I heard through the grapevine, like, yo, man, have you heard of Dark Souls? Like, that game is so hard, most people can't beat it. And I just kind of went,
really?
Tell me more.
Went back, played it, like, got my ass handed to me, got good, felt the rush, and I've just been chasing that dragon ever since, man.
Chasing the dragon again.
Yes. Hey,
and Chris playing Sekiro, I'm pretty sure he feels the same way. Like, there's nothing as great as like fighting a boss and be like, I don't even want to fucking do this. And then you just like go to sleep, work in a couple more days, go to sleep, and then just roll in and just rock the fuck out of the guy. It is so satisfying.
Yeah, I did that in the same day I killed as I call it, Ninja Grandma. It's a Lady Butterfly and the Blazing Bull. It's a bull. There's a bull in the game, giant bull. His horns are on fire, and it just charges at you, and it can just one shot you. And it was immensely frustrating. When I killed it, I was so happy. I was like, oh my god, it's just so satisfying. Can't even explain it.
Hey Brett.
Yo.
Cuphead.
I know, for the Switch on my broken. I'm sorry.
That's all I'm saying. Get it on Switch.
Is it out now?
I don't know. That's a good question. I should look that up.
I don't know if it's coming or out.
No, it's coming. It is definitely coming.
This month, right? This
month. I think it is this month.
Yeah.
I'll give you the date right now. Let me tell you, Cuphead, that game, the final boss took me 6 fucking hours, right? It got to a point where, like, I guess the best way I could describe it is I felt hopelessness. Like I was fighting for like 4 hours straight, and I couldn't do it. And I just felt this sense of despair, like, I can't fucking do this. I can't. I just gave up. And I came back the next day, played another 2 hours, and finally fucking got him, you know? But I never had a game make me feel like that before, where I'm like, I cannot do this. Like, I've tried everything possible, and I cannot beat this fucking game. It's crazy, man. No game made me feel like that. Even Nintendo games didn't make me feel like this. At least with Nintendo games, I'm like, okay, I just cannot fucking do it, period. This one, I felt like basically 99% sure I was going to lose, but there was that 1%. That 1%, I'm like, hold on. I may be able to beat this, you know.
Have you played Sekiro yet?
I have not. I saw Chris play. I'm like, nah, I'm good. That's and I'm gonna but I have
that game will make you feel despair.
Oh no, but there's a difference. That game is, as Chris put it, a parry the video game. I don't like parrying. I fucking can't stand it. So I'm like, I'm not dealing with this shit. You know,
parrying's amazing.
I hate parrying in games. That's why I don't like Street Fighter 3. I'm like, I don't want to do that trash. You know, like I don't want to think about the timing because I always fuck that up, you know? That's why I appreciate Batman. They gave the little things like, okay, now I'll parry, you know? Like these games, like the anime, because basically once I learn the parrying for a specific enemy, I have to go to the next enemy. Then I got to relearn it all over again. I'm like, I don't want to do this shit. I just don't have the patience for it. Never had it, never will, you know? But if you like parrying, that's all good.
That's the joy of parrying, though. It's the joy of like reading the enemy, like reading the visual cues, the audio cues. You know, like being aware of your surroundings. You know, like being able to like see the people around you. And this is actually why I didn't like the new God of War, because you can't actually see everyone around you. Anyway, it's that atmosphere that I loved, and that's why I didn't like Batman. Because like, hey, I'm about to hit you now. Yes, I'm about to hit you now. Just yep, right now. There you go. I just hit you. Like, yeah, I seen you a mile away. Like, fuck off. No, I like.
By the way, Brian, if you put the game on hard, they get rid of the prompts.
Great. They should not have the prompts in general. Like I want to feel like, you know that one scene from Naruto where the main bad guy. I don't remember his name, but the
Orochimaru.
No. The main bad guy at the very end, like he's fucking up like all the other ninjas, and like you see him in like slow motion as like he's like looking around and like seeing all the other people. If Carlos was listening, he'd know.
Yeah.
That one scene, that's how I like to feel in video games. Like being able to like to analyze everyone and see what everyone is doing at any one time, and understanding like, okay, cool. Who's the main threat? Who's not the main threat? Okay, cool. This guy's here about to charge me. This guy's here is about to get his ass whooped. So I better like stop focusing on him and switch to the other guy. I like to feel like that one scene. I'll find that one scene for you, Tony.
Yeah, please. You'll see what I mean. You're probably talking about a scene in an episode I haven't even gotten to yet.
It's like towards the very end, like the very, very end
of Shippuden.
Yes.
Okay, I stopped right at the beginning of the Great Ninja War.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's definitely in there.
Okay. All right. What the fuck are we? Okay. Next question. I don't really know how to take this question, so I guess it'll be open to interpretation. Mm-hmm. Which developer is the biggest show off?
Biggest show off?
I don't know.
I don't know how to answer
this is one of those questions I wish he would have written a paragraph so I can understand it.
I mean I don't feel like show off. I feel like a little bit of the chest beating was a little bit like years ago. Like, like this is the greatest looking game ever, and then, the chest beating with blast processing and stuff. But I don't think a lot of developers actually do that sort of thing anymore.
I got one. Our favorite, Cliffy B, used to be a big show off.
Definitely.
Show off, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But I feel like he's. I mean, and then alternatively, I would like to say the creator, the director of the Ninja Gaiden and the Dead or Alive series. Yeah, he's a bit of a show off.
Really, both of you guys.
What?
Neither one of you gonna bring up Kojima?
I don't know if he is a show-off,
Oh,
though.
come on. How many times have we seen Norman Reedus baby throat?
No, it's not that. I think people, like, obviously people, like, put a lot of star power on him, but the man himself is pretty humble. He's not like a braggart.
Well, okay, but
yeah,
there's a difference between being a personal show-off and a creative show-off. He showcases the fuck out of everything that he's doing. Yeah. Way before, like, and I'm going to sound like a fanboy here, but Bethesda with Fallout did it right. They didn't bring out a whole lot of shit. All of a sudden, they dropped it. They said it's coming this year. They didn't spend years beating the fucking band about it. That was the opposite of being a show-off in my book. And in my opinion, being a show-off is just beating the fucking band about your game for fucking ever. Just get it over with and give us the fucking game. Don't make a giant spectacle out.
This goes back to open to interpretation. Me and Manny are kind of taking it on like, hey, is that person, that developer, a show off? Like, are they a braggart? Are they out there going?
A developer can't be a bragger. A person can be a bragger, but a developer is a bragger when they're constantly showing promotional material.
No, Peter Molyneux was a braggart.
Yeah. Peter Molyneux is a person, but the question was a developer.
But a developer is a person.
Oh, remember? I guess you could be taking it as a singular developer.
Yeah,
not a development studio.
No Man's Sky.
Yeah,
him.
Sean Murray.
Sean Murray.
He was making the rounds, going around, making promises they did not fulfill. Not until. What, this year? Last
year? Recently.
Yeah, but is he really like a show off? Like, hey, we got the greatest game ever.
He never did that.
Yeah, he never did that type of stuff.
I don't know. Peter Molyneux would.
Cliffy B, that motherfucker was a show off.
Yeah, and he's also a developer, right?
Yeah, and he's also a developer. That's right. Yeah, that motherfucker is off. But again, that's just my interpretation of what show off is. Again, admittedly, the question's a little bit open to interpretation. So, I'm sticking with my answer. I'm sticking with that. What was my answer again? Cliffy B, right? Itagaki is another good one too, Manny.
Yeah, I would say Itagaki.
Oh, yeah, he was like a cult of personality. Man.
Oh, I got another one. Even though I like it, Suda51, that motherfucker's a show-off.
I think Suda's also his reputation kind of precedes him. Yeah. I think he's a lot more humble now than he was when he first started.
All I know is when I talked to him, like, he gave me the full show.
Mm-hmm. He gave me the show.
He gave me the full show. All right, Brian.
So the reality was a match for the leg.
Yeah. I was like, that's the guy I know. Yeah. Brian, take this however you want, man.
You guys pretty much got the ones I was about to say. Cliffy B and damn, what's his name? I was his name. Kojima. That's it.
Oh, Kojima.
Yeah. See, Brian married both of them together, man. All right. Next question. Ellen Page's forehead, my favorite person. This is an interesting. What are currently the most top tier and trustworthy game developers to deliver a quality product? Remember, English is not his first language, so I'm guessing saying who are the most consistent developers out there that always deliver quality products that are also top tier developers. We kind of answered.
Read it again.
Okay, I'm gonna I didn't even edit it really. What are currently the most top tier and trustworthy game devs to deliver a quality product?
Okay, I think the way that I would interpret that is, what is the most top tier game studio that you trust to deliver a quality product in the future?
Yeah, that's how I'm taking it too.
Like how? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's how I'm taking it too. I'm gonna give, because we had a kind of similar question to this a couple weeks ago. I'm gonna give the same answer. Ninja Theory. They've always delivered the goods. I expect them to deliver the goods again. So there you go.
The goods.
Everybody in the chat saying the obvious ones: Naughty Dog, Rockstar, Santa Monica, from Software. Those are good answers, guys. Shit, we don't even have to answer it now. You guys did it.
Yeah.
And I want to add that I only kind of / mostly trust those guys. I don't completely trust any developer at this point. Yeah, I see too many good ones turn bad.
I think that's why currently is the key word here, Brett, because they could easily turn. They could easily turn,
Right.
Well, I don't know if I trust.
Hold on.
I don't know if I trust.
Yeah. Black Metal, I think I have to question some of these. Right now, Capcom, I'll give it a slight pass. But Sega still hasn't proven it to me, man. Not lately, Team Ninja, No, they did Other M, didn't they?
Yeah,
I will never forgive them for that.
They can't live. They can't live down from their sin. They did do that samurai game, which did pretty good for them.
I don't care.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And Sega's hit or miss. I mean, like you get a Yakuza and you get a Sonic Forces, and it's like, what the hell?
Yeah. From Software, that's a good answer. From Software is pretty fucking consistent.
Yeah, I'll say that. I'll say Rockstar is pretty consistent right now. Like,
they lost my vote.
Well, with Red Dead Online, yeah. They
showed their cards in terms of motive with all that shitty microtransaction shit. It's not even the stellar launch of GTA Online. It was the microtransaction bullshit, the inflated prices they tried to pull.
Yeah, that fucked that whole thing up.
Yeah,
Thank you, Take-Two.
Yeah, Take-Two is pretty much to blame for that shit.
We're not going to go down that road again. Let me see. Yakuza. Oh yeah, the Yakuza team. They make quality stuff, man.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what I said. They make good stuff.
Yeah, man. They make good stuff. Yeah. Capcom back in the day, obviously, but we're talking about currently. Capcom back in the day was unstoppable. They were the best developer out there.
I'd say they pretty much have come back, except the fighting crew has to be redone.
Yeah.
Like, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite is shameful.
Yeah, it's shameful. Street Fighter V, it's good now, but it should have been good on day one.
Yeah.
If they get the fighting games right, I will say that Capcom's gonna be the best developer out there.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, Bethesda. Until Fallout 76, they had pretty much always made the same types of games and been a pretty reliable studio. Fallout 76 is a multiplayer game, so they might be forgiven for it, but it also shined the light on a lot of the bugs that the games have always had. So I guess it does, but do you think Bethesda is trusted to release a single-player open-world game anymore?
Brett, I don't know if you're trolling or being serious right now.
I'm being serious.
Brian,
how
answer
can you be
it.
serious? How can you be serious right now, Brett? Like you just said that Fallout 76 highlighted the bugs that the games have always had. That right there is the problem. The games have always had.
But they've always been accepted. Like, it's never been a problem before.
No, it has.
It has been a problem.
Yeah.
It's been a huge problem.
Saying this in Skyrim.
Yeah, because Skyrim was a huge failure financially.
It doesn't matter if it's a failure or not. It matters if it's actually a good game. Like fucking, okay, what's a game that was broken?
People still love Skyrim.
The Division. The Division was one of the highest launches this year for like a new IP. Sorry, not this year. This gen for a new IP. It was broken at launch, no doubt. It was broken for at least 3 months. On PC, it was riddled with bugs and glitches and cheaters. The game was broken. It still was one of the highest grossing new IPs of this generation.
And people still love it.
Yeah, but it was broken. That's the thing. It got better over time, but it was broken. Just because something makes money doesn't make it good. I'm just tired of that as an argument.
No. The fact that people love it is what makes it good.
They love it because it's broken. That's why they love it.
They don't love it because it's broken. They love it in spite of it being broken.
No, they love it because it's broken because they don't know what to expect.
It's a really extreme term for that game. For Fallout and Skyrim.
They love it because it's unpredictable. They don't know what the hell's going to happen.
I'd take janky. I could compromise on janky.
You guys are haggling on this shit. It's hilarious.
My game was literally broken. I could not finish the game properly. One of the mission guys was locked behind the door, and he would not walk to the door. I tried everything, reloading, everything. I was at least 20 hours in, and this is Skyrim, and it just did not work. I had to input a console command to clip through the wall to go talk to him, because that was the only thing that people online could do. There was no fix, there was no nothing. It's like, hey, this is the only way to go through it. If you're on consoles, then bad luck for you. That's a literal game-breaking bug, because your game just stopped.
I agree.
I could not, and this was the main storyline, not like a side quest. If it was a side quest, I wouldn't care. But it was like the main story. Like, that's what I mean. Like, these. No, sorry, Brett. I can't say yes to that. I'll give you Rockstar, but I can't say yes to Bethesda. I don't trust them.
But no,
anymore.
see, that's my big question. If they release another game, the quality of Skyrim, the quality of Fallout 4, where it's kind of janky, a little weird, it bugs out sometimes, but for the most part, it's not game breaking. Like, would that same quality of game be accepted as it's always been, or will it be reviled now because of Fallout 76?
Probably reviled more because of Fallout 76, and people just getting tired of Bethesda.
Okay.
Like, look at the big snafu that was Fallout 76. Like, look at everything wrong that Bethesda did, like banning players, like blaming other people, like leaking of emails and passwords. Like, they like that whole thing of Fallout 76 for like the first 3-4 months was pretty much a PR nightmare for them. Like, I would hate to be the PR company for like the next game that they make, because then they have to like sit there and take all the crap that came from this Fallout. Pun intended.
Yeah. I don't have a position I'm pushing. I am literally just curious.
I don't think that there will be. I don't think that game is all that forgetful. Like, these are the same people that will remember how bad the last game was and then use that to talk about the next game. Even though the next game is different or anything, or like a number of things. Like, oh, this game was not that great, so hence I don't have faith.
So you think that pushed Bethesda out of the public favor?
Oh, definitely.
Completely. Okay.
Yeah, I agree with Brian. I think people now finally have woken up to Bethesda's shenanigans, you know, so
shenanigans.
So hopefully it'll make them make better games. You know, because I love the worlds they make, the characters, all that shit is so fucking good. But the games are fucking like janky pieces of shit. You know, if they fix that, they would be up there, man. Because those worlds are fucking awesome. You know, and that's what kept me. Yeah, that's what kept me going with Fallout 3 is one of the worst games I ever played mechanically, but I love that fucking world. That's why I pushed through and beat it. You know. Because it was really captivating, but it's janky as fuck. And man, I remember back when Manny and I started our fucking blog in 2010. I wrote an editorial in 2011 talking about how janky Bethesda's fucking games were. So this isn't anything new, you know.
Nope.
So do you think Outer Worlds? Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's gonna be a broken piece of shit, man. I don't trust them.
That was the old guys, right? That's not.
Yeah, that was the old guys.
Yeah, we'll see about that. Isn't that game supposed to be running on the same fucking engine too? I don't know.
No.
Is it? No.
It can't legally.
If anything, it's probably going to run on Unreal. Yeah.
Good. That right there gives me hope. Don't that Bethesda engine? That thing fucking sucks. I'm sorry, man. Hold on. Let me read some of the comments here. GZDR says Insomniac Games. That's another one. High quality studio. They always deliver good stuff.
Resistance.
Resistance is good. Resistance is good. Spider-Man, Ratchet and Clank, Sunset Overdrive.
Ratchet and Clank, really?
Yeah, Ratchet and Clank is fucking awesome. That's one of those platformers I want to see come back. I love Ratchet and Clank. One of the
I really didn't like that much.
I love that. That's one of my favorite franchises. Man, he could tell you about that shit, man.
Oh, yeah.
I was there since day one with that franchise. I love that shit, you know? Even though it game on PS4 was amazing, you know?
Really?
Yeah, I love that shit. Man, I love platformers, man. And that to me, Ratchet and Clank was probably the best of both worlds because it's both a platformer and a shooter.
Yeah.
You know, although I will admit the original 3 on PS2 were the best ones because because they made them more family friendly when they came over to, like subsequent generations, but those first 3 were really like raunchy and shit for that art style, which I really appreciated, you know.
Yeah, up your arsenal.
Yeah, like,
going commando.
Yeah, going commando. It's like, all right, guys, I see what you guys are doing here, you know? Because the modern games are rated E, right? But they were originally T because of those fucking jokes they would always throw in there, you know?
Yeah, there was a little bit of an adult humor to it. Kind of like, cartoons, from, modern cartoons too, where just a little bit of that for the older people.
Yeah. So, Insomniac is a good one. I didn't play Song of the Deep, though, so I can't comment on that.
Is that the swimming one?
Yes, a submarine game.
I played some of it. It's interesting. It's more like a storybook. It's definitely not their style.
Yeah. Who said that shit? Mighty Nurse says Brian's being a negative Nancy again.
No, I just felt that like Ratchet and Clank was just a bit too safe and way too kidsy for me. Like, again, as Tony has said, like, given how like the last games were like had like their themes. This was just like very safe, very hands off. Like a Disney movie as a game, and it's like, no, not right. Like,
Brian, did you
it's
play
like they
the? Did you
put
play?
gloves on.
Yeah, did you play the original ones?
I played the first one.
Okay, so that's good enough. Because the thing is, if you were to say, "Hey, I don't like these games anymore because they toned them down," that's a perfectly good criticism. You know, I'm not going to agree fully with that, but like even mechanically, you didn't like it because I felt it was fun as hell, man. You know, but
yeah. Like again, my problems were not with the mechanics. It was like with pretty much everything else. The storyline I just did not like that much. It just felt rushed towards last third of the act. I know I'm saying it like a film, but also that's the other problem that I have is that it came as part of a film tie-in, and the film was kind of like, hey, he's stuff from the video game as a film. It's like, fuck, the hell's going on with this?
To be fair though, and you did play the first one, so you could compare it because the latest game is actually a weird remake of the first one. It's weird how it works. Basically, the movie is a remake of the first game, and the game is a remake of the movie. It's really weird. So I agree with you where the last third of it just felt rushed. But if you play the original one, it wouldn't have felt rushed because it was just supposed to be a video game. It wasn't a movie, But mechanically, again, when I played, I'm like, oh my god, this feels so fun. God, I missed this shit. Bring it back. Sly Cooper, motherfucking Jack and Daxter, man, bring all that shit back. Although Naughty Dog ain't bringing back no Jack and Daxter. they ain't bringing that shit back. That shit is done, son. And
also, I have a big issue with the motion blur and it being locked to 30 frames per second.
Oh,
those were like two of the biggest things. It's like motion blur was way too much.
I didn't even realize that game had motion blur.
Oh, when you compared the OG one, it's like you could, it's like if you like someone just like smeared the whole screen together, like it looks that bad. It's weird when you compare.
Brian, I'm gonna guess you don't like because I like motion blur in games. I'm guessing you don't like it.
I'm not a fan. I can deal with it if it's not too much, but I feel like with like in some games they do too much of it. Like they just put on like the highest amount that they can, and then that's it. I don't know why they do that.
Interesting. Oh, and now you got me wanting to play Spider-Man, looking for that because I didn't notice. I don't notice that stuff, unless you take it off. Then I'm like, where's the motion blur? It's kind of like bass in a song. It's like I don't notice the bass, but you take the bass off. I'm like, where's the bass? Okay. The last question. Okay, the first part is a joke, but I'm gonna, just say it anyway because it's kind of funny. Do the PC gamers angry at Epic Game Store get pissed when they go to Arby's for a KFC chicken and get told that's sold at another restaurant? Haha, joking. So that's not the real question. So the real question, this is for the PC guys here, Brian and Brett. What are some of your favorite PC mods you've used in games? Yes. Brian, you lead us off, man.
I guess you just have to go to like the most moddable game in existence, which is Skyrim. Just all the random mods you can have in there. So I like having like a lightsaber in there. I liked having the Death Star as the moon. That was so damn cool. I played some Final Fantasy 15 that also had mods. Mostly just went through modded, made my character to look different. Because again, I felt the clothing options were a bit meh. So I had like a weird one for clothing options, had like weird one for weapons, and yes, I had the Buster Sword because you just have to have the sword in there because why not? Yeah, it's mostly just character mods and one-time mods. Shout out to like the weird and wonderful mods. Like for example, in Fallout 4, when you leveled up, it would play the John Cena anthem. That was the best thing ever because it's just so unexpected and awesome. Yeah, there's so many of them. Brett, do you want to take over, or do you want to jump in?
Macho Man Randy Savage Dragon.
Yeah, Thomas the Tank Engine Dragon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Thomas the Tank Engine, Mr. X.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just love the Macho Man Randy Savage because every time he blew fire, he went, "Oh yeah,
ooh yeah, Macho Man."
Yeah.
As he was flying around there, he'd be like, in the air instead of like the screech, he'd be like, "Macho Man's coming for you."
The cream of the crop.
One of my favorite mods that I've seen recently is every time Mr. X comes into a room in Resident Evil, you hear DMX, X gonna give it to you.
Yeah, go give it to you.
But the brilliant thing is, you hear the song slowly coming in as he approaches.
Yeah,
when you hear that, like, oh shit, he's coming. And then when he leaves the room, you hear the song slowly fading out.
So the song just travels.
Go up the grill.
Yeah, so basically, imagine you, okay, oh my God, think about it like this. You hear this song, and that song now becomes like a thing of horror in your head. When you're playing it and you hear, like, oh shit, here it comes. And then years later, you hear the song out of the blue, and you get terrorized. You start sweating because you're thinking about Mr. X.
Speaking of X gonna give it to you. Random thing, I was in Philly this weekend, just walking around, and apparently DMX is still doing shows. His show was sold out.
What? By the way, Barry Burns says that WrestleMania is still going on.
WrestleMania.
He says he's trying to tap out, but somebody knocked out the ref.
Oh no, you're gonna be there for another hour.
Yeah, right.
Triple H pulled out the sledgehammer.
All right, Chris, you got any mods that you've seen that you think are cool?
Just like the Resident Evil 2 ones you mentioned, they replaced Mr. X with the Thomas the Tank Engine, even added the sounds. I saw they had modded Nemesis into the game, so you fight him instead of Mr. X, which was pretty neat. Yeah, that's mostly what I've seen in the mod scene is just Resident Evil 2 stuff, things they've been able to do with the game.
Yeah, man, you've seen some of those mods where they make Claire practically naked. That's always the perennial thing in PC mods, the naked mod, you know?
The naked mod. Though they did put Mr. X in, I mean, you should probably, the Mr. X in the Speedo.
Yeah, then Leon in a freaking Speedo, yeah.
You know, they usually...
Goes both ways.
Hey, we don't judge, man.
Yeah,
we don't judge.
Ways. It's all good. Some people want to see Mr. X's umbrella.
Yeah, right.
You know what that is, guys? That's equality.
Exactly.
Everyone gets naked.
Everybody gets naked. Let's go. We're having a beach party in the mansion. Go ahead.
Speaking of quality, there are lots of mods that actually often up the quality of games, from textures to lighting to that kind of thing. Even
Skyrim mod.
Oh no, definitely with Skyrim. Like, I don't know, Skyrim is this weird mix if you get into modding. And this is why I kind of give the game a quote unquote pass, because it gives you an idea of how weirdly programmed it is and how many different things they're trying to do at once, where the higher of the tower of mods that you incorporate, the more unstable the game becomes. Like, you can see it visibly making a difference. So it's about stacking a Jenga tower as tall as possible. And Steam has made it much easier, but it was about like stacking a Jenga tower as tall as possible, initiating the right load order, and praying to God that your game doesn't crash. And most modders basically just stack mods until their game crashes, then take off the last one. And the thing is like damn near overheated. Their PC's about to levitate. Things in the game are going sideways every 20 minutes, so their auto saving is turned way up. Like, It gets weird, especially when you do a lot of mods. And that's the way with a lot of games. Like, the more mods that you add, the more unstable the game becomes. So you start to realize why the developer didn't necessarily do that. Sometimes just because, the modding community is more talented. Sometimes they're like, oh yeah, so that's like a thing. Like, there was a mod in Fallout to remove the build limit on your settlements, and so people did it and then built gigantic stuff, and it just crashed their game when they tried to render it all.
That's crazy. All right, yeah, I think that's pretty much it for us. No, Adam didn't show up at all. I mean, do you have a favorite mod?
I didn't say a mod. What was the mod? I mean, I've never actually installed any sort of mods inside of my thing, but I did think that some of the replacing models in some of the games is actually pretty fun. The Metal Gear Solid 5 ones were fun, where they literally had taken Norman Reedus and to replace Snake with Norman Reedus, and then replaced Quiet with Kojima, and it had that stupid scene where they're like splashing each other in the rain.
Oh man, wasn't there a mod in Metal Gear where they made all the birds into characters or something like that, or the characters into birds?
Yeah, they made the birds into like snakes, so he'd look at them and you just see Snake flapping around in the sky.
Yeah.
People are crazy, man. A snake in the rain. That's right. Is there a Thanos mod for RE2? Probably. GTA 5 got a crazy mod suite for the graphics. Shit looks great.
Yeah, I've seen
yeah, the GTA 4 as well. I remember that. Those look crazy, man.
Oh, the photorealistic graphics are fucking like you can't tell them apart from reality.
Yeah, he's so real. The birds were the Metal Gear too. Oh God, could you imagine that? That's crazy, man. All right, so yeah, I guess because WrestleMania is still going on, Adam didn't show up. Oh well.
WrestleMania.
Somebody tell this man he still has to work tomorrow. You know.
Yeah, he'll still be watching it tomorrow.
He'll be watching WrestleMania. I just hope he doesn't have to record WrestleCast after this.
Yo.
All right, Ben. So let me bring up the graphic here. How to submit your questions. Step 1, join our Discord. Step 2, on Discord, go to Throwdown Your Questions, the section. And step 3, submit your questions and limit them to 2, please. And again, I want to give a shout out to everybody in the Discord. That room is always active, which is a lot of fun. You guys posting, good conversations, funny memes, the good stuff, man. So thank you. And I think we got some newer guys in there. And also shout out to our Twitch followers, man. We're at 344 right now, which is pretty awesome. I haven't looked at the numbers and I'm like, oh, they went up. Cool. So, I guess that's what consistency gets you, man. Which is good stuff. And yeah, that's going to do it for us. So thank you for watching and listening. Leave us questions in the Throwdown Discord and we'll answer them on next week's show. Subscribe to Throwdown on SoundCloud, iTunes, and YouTube. Follow us on Twitch, Twitters, and Facebook at Throwdown Show. Links are located in the description below. Once again, I was your host, Tony Polanco. And tonight I was joined by Emilio Lopez.
See you later, guys.
Chris Seeley.
Shalom, people.
Brett Murdoch.
It's been real, party people.
And Brian Monjoma.
It has been good fun, people. Good fun.
Yes. All right, guys. We'll see you on Thursday. Later.
Later, guys.
Latest.